folks, just 1 week ago, the Nintendo Switch 2 was looking all shiny, all beautiful. Now, things have kinda gone wrong for Nintendo. Welcome back to the Mario Matter, your favorite Nintendo podcast, hosted by your favorite Nintendo YouTuber, EmSwizzle. That is me. Folks, we have so much to discuss on today's program. Let's run you through the schedule, the, program for today. First things first, we are going to go over, as usual, Nintendo news. However, we have so much to go through. Nintendo has commented on Switch 2. They've given their reason for the pricing, and a lot of other, honestly, negative things have come out about Switch 2. It's becoming a mess. We talk about all of that, and then simply after that, we dive into the Q&A segment, the question block segment, where I answer your questions you ask me. Without further ado, my friends, let's go ahead and let's get right to talking about Switch 2 stuff. It is a mess. Let's go.
Welcome to the Mario Matter, the #1 Nintendo podcast.
Also, sorry to anybody who was expecting a guest this week. We were supposed to have one, and then I had a scheduling issue, so that guest will be on in 2 weeks. We have a guest next week. It'll all be good stuff. It'll all even out. But we need a solo episode in here. You know, we had a guest for the last 3 weeks, I think, if not more. So, you know, we needed this little solo episode intervention right here. But guys, Switch 2. So, last episode was with, fan favorite, Zach Scott Games, and that episode was recorded last Friday. So that was April 4th, okay, was the last episode. And at that point in time, we were 2 days removed from the Switch 2 Direct, which in a lot of people's eyes was great. And then, of course, that Thursday and Friday were the Nintendo Treehouse events. Now, what those were, if you missed them, was Nintendo on their YouTube channel would live stream their, hosts playing Switch 2 games in depth. So there were, 3 hosts on the camera, and they would, walk through a certain part of Donkey Kong Bonanza or Metroid Prime 4. They would just play the games and live stream them so then you can have a better, look at the games and what you're going to be buying, right? And all throughout those streams, if you were watching them, the entire chat was saying, drop the price, drop the price. And, from that Wednesday of the Switch 2 Direct to the weekend, it was just incredible negativity towards Nintendo. So much so, we've never seen it this bad in a long time. And I couldn't tell you the last time that, it's been this bad. My memory is not that great with that. Because I probably wasn't a YouTuber. Since I've been a Nintendo YouTuber, I don't remember a time where people have hated them this bad. Anyways, this is bad. So then, come Monday, Nintendo goes on a press run. They have Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of America, doing interview after interview. You have another Nintendo person, Bill Trinan. I believe he's vice president and something about player experience, consumer something. He's doing interviews. You got some other guy talking to Nintendo Life doing interviews. They're trying to make this so much better. They're trying to fix all of their or not fix things, but explain things, give reasoning for all these crazy prices and all this sort of stuff. So we have so much to dive into. Let's go ahead and let's dive into the first thing. And this is notable for our friends in America, so that would be me, our friends in Canada as well, and then there's even a couple countries, like China is affected, I believe, I can't remember, there's a few countries, but mostly, America and Canada. Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders have been delayed. So, what has happened here? In America and Canada, Nintendo was supposed to launch, and we talked about this last episode, but I want to dive into it more. They were supposed to launch pre-orders for Best Buy, GameStop, all these other stores on April 9th. Nintendo said, hang on a minute, let's wait a little bit longer. Let's push it back because they are assessing the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions, as they put it. I know that we talked about this last episode, but I did want to bring it back up because last episode, it was just America. Now it's also Canada. I feel bad for you guys. Anyone listening who's like European, Australian, who has their pre-order locked in, you're probably laughing at us. This sucks, man. So we can't pre-order Switch 2. Now, I'm not going to dive into the whole tariff thing because honestly, I'm not, educated enough to dive into all of it. But essentially, and I gave this very, very surface level explanation on my YouTube video Thursday. I basically said it's a way for Nintendo to kind of step back for a second and make sure that they're not going to lose a whole bunch of money on Switch 2 when they sell it. That's my very, very surface level explanation of them delaying these pre-orders. We could go deeper. Well, I couldn't, but there are deeper conversations about it. I couldn't do that myself. Maybe I should bring on a tariff expert to the podcast. But they are delayed. So also this morning, Friday morning, IGN posted this big story, bro. They thought they found some like hidden news or something. IGN posted this tweet and like article saying Nintendo announced Switch 2 pre-orders will start on May 8th. If you went to the Switch 2 pre-order website on April 2nd before they were even delayed, it said May 8th they would start. So IGN, that's not breaking news. They totally deleted their tweets, deleted their Instagram post, and changed their article. IGN trying to be first to the news. Didn't work. That's why you watch the Mario Matter podcast. We shoot straight. We don't share misinformation, and if we did, it never happened. You are tricking yourself. It never ever happened. But I'm just kidding. We all get stories wrong here and there. So IGN just had to call them out. That's why you watch the Mario Matter. Anyways, not to dunk on them. That's not very professional of me. Let's move on to our next topic here because the whole pre-order thing, it only affects a certain group of people, those being in the USA, Canada. It doesn't affect the Europeans, but it's arguably the biggest topic of the past week. So let's move on to our other big topic here. Nintendo, as I said, was on their press run. They were on a PR world tour, dude, over the past week. And all these guys doing all these interviews, they're panicking, dude. So here we go. Nintendo has attempted to explain the Mario Kart World $80 price tag. By the way, before I even get into this piece of news, I'm so sorry, and I shouldn't keep saying this because I know most of you know this, right? In America, I'm not talking about Europe. I'm not talking about Australia. In the USA, the United States of America, all 50 states, Mario Kart World is $80 physically or digitally. Yeah, that's it. It's $80. It's not $90. People are saying it's $90 physically, $80 digitally. No, it's not. Go to GameStop.com. Go to BestBuy.com. Go to Target.com. It's not $90 anywhere. Go to Nintendo.com. It's not $90 anywhere. And then there's been some people arguing, well, if once you add tax, it's going to be close to 90. Guys, stop. If you add tax to the Switch 2, it's going to be like $470. You can't add tax. It doesn't work like that. It's $80. It is an $80. It's not 90. Listen, I'm all for dunking on Nintendo, but the fact of the matter is important. It's 80, not 90. I will stop being fired up because I know most people know that. But man, People are leaving like nasty comments on my podcast and Twitter and YouTube. You know, for a polite word, you dummy, do your research. It's 80. I'm sorry. Okay, next. Okay, so Nintendo tried to explain. Sorry for getting fired up there. They tried to explain the $80 price tag for Mario Kart World, and Nintendo's Bill Trinan, who is, you know, as we said earlier, I believe vice president of something. I'm not sure of the company. Something to do with consumer experience. I don't have his job role listed, but he's pretty big over there. He's pretty notable. And he said this. Let's read this, okay? This is to IGN. Quote, Mario Kart World, I think especially as you see from the Nintendo Direct, not to give you any hints or anything, but I did read your article this morning, you know, talking about IGN. And I think you had mentioned that you didn't find a lot to discover when roaming around. So I would say tune in to our Mario Kart Direct to see what maybe you'll be able to find out about that. But honestly, this is a game that is so big and so vast, and you will find so many little things in it to discover. And there's still some other secrets remaining that I think as people end up buying and playing the game, they're going to find this to be probably the richest Mario Kart experience they've ever had. So he's basically saying, we are justifying this being $80, and there's things that you have not seen yet that, you know, you will probably think makes this game worth $80. Now, I made a YouTube video on my main channel Thursday, and I said this. I said, you know, because part of the quote that I didn't read was them saying like, or I think Doug Bowser might have said it, They were like, we look at each game individually and try to, you know, determine a price for it based on the value there, based on everything around it. Well, Nintendo, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was $70, okay? That has, at the very least, 70 hours of content, at the shortest. People go up to thousands, 200, 100, 300, at the very least, like 70, 75 hours. So, if you're telling me that, Mario Kart World better have a story mode, better have a create your own track mode, better have the free roam mode, better be, you know, a huge multiplayer GTA 6. Like, this better be the craziest Mario Kart of all time. Listen, if you're just charging $80 because you think that you can get away with it, that's great. That's fine. You probably can get away with it, right? But you can't charge $80 and back it up by saying, well, we look at every game individually and try to price it based on how much value is there. There better be a whole ton of value in this Mario Kart Direct next, I believe, Wednesday. Next Wednesday. There better be so much value in there. Actually, I think it's Thursday. Well, yeah, next Thursday. There better be so much value in there, dude. There better be so much. You cannot say we price games on value and then have, like, let's say that there was no Mario Kart Direct. If it was just free roam and Grand Prix like normal, you can't charge $80. So, based on what they're saying, I'm expecting like a Mario Kart World blowout next week. I'm expecting like the craziest Mario Kart World features and things that we've never seen before. I'm expecting it to be nuts. My expectations for that Direct have gone sky high. Like, bro, I wouldn't be surprised if you can do free roam and like you can see a bunch of online players. Like, even what they did in Mario Wonder, they had all of those ghosts or whatever. Like, if you go online Mario Wonder, you can see other players' ghosts. If they had that, that'd be cool. Like, huge online stuff. Maybe a story mode, a campaign, something. Like there's $80. There better be something. So that is their explanation. They're saying tune in next week and you'll see this is going to be an $80 game. Now, am I wrong to say that I actually believe them? Like, I think that we are going to walk away from that Direct and be like, man, yeah, $80 makes sense. I think we honestly will. I think that we will. I know that I said they wouldn't show too much in that direct, but now I'm kind of changing. I think they will, especially now, especially with everybody, crapping on this Mario Kart World price. I think especially now, they're going to do their best to make sure everything that'll be in Mario Kart World. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna buy the game, right? I'm gonna buy it. It's $80. It's not $90 in the US. I know, 90 euros. I don't know. It's $80 in the US. I'm gonna pay $80 for this game. I could do the whole bundle thing. They're bundling it with Switch 2, so you save, I think, $30 when you buy the bundle. But I'm a physical gamer. You can't sell me a digital Mario Kart World game. I'm sorry. You can't do it. But our next piece of news is a pretty short one to talk about. Just wanted to go over it and bring it up and bring it to your attention. Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders, for those who have gotten one, in Europe, in Australia has them, right? I forget. In those other countries, these pre-orders are being scalped online, which means, resold, reselling, for over $500 US. If I search, let's do it right now so we can get it from two angles, okay? If I go to eBay right now and search in Nintendo Switch 2. Oh, you know what? Okay, so I found some, but it looks like eBay's done a pretty good job at getting a lot of those resellers off of here. But let's see. So I found one Switch 2 for $1,700. If you buy that and pay $1,700 US, plus $38 shipping, you can, make sure that you get a Switch 2. There's one for $700. So if you pay $700 for a console that is $450, you can get a Switch 2. There's one for $570. Prices are off the charts. I encourage nobody here to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 from eBay unless you need it day one or close to day one, and you did not get a pre-order. But I mean, bro, even still, just go stand outside of a Best Buy for 9 hours. I mean, as long as, you don't have a job, which is bold to assume because most people do. Go, call in sick. Go stand outside GameStop for 12 hours, and, you can get one if you need it that bad, right? So, yeah, it's being scalped, per usual. But I saw a bunch of people on the Nintendo Switch or something subreddit, reporting eBay people. And listen, I'm in support of that. Scalpers suck. But, I saw some people posting, yeah, let's take down the scalpers one by one. Bro, there's got to be something better. Go play Pikmin. Go play Pikmin 4. Go play Mario Wonder. eBay is going to take care of them some way, somehow. You don't have to go down the list and, report each one. Can they even take down scalpers? What are you reporting them for? They have an item of value, and that's the price they determine it to be. $600. So I don't know. Messy situation. Do you all know that scene from Frosty the Snowman? Messy, messy, messy. That's how I feel about all of the pre-orders being scalped. But guys, our next piece of news. This sucks so bad. This actually, if you're wondering why the title of this podcast is something along the lines, I haven't finalized it yet. It's something along the lines of Nintendo Switch 2 is a mess. This is part of the reason. I mean, one of the big factors of why I titled this podcast that. Here we go. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour The glorified instruction manual piece of software, I will not call it a game, piece of software, will cost $10. Alright guys, so in the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct last Wednesday, April 2nd, we were shown the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour game. This, I shouldn't call it a game, but I'm going to call it a game for ease. This game is supposed to be a tech demo where you can learn about how the Switch 2 functions. Like, hey, the magnets are actually in the Switch. And you know, when you connect the Joy-Con, it does this. It teaches you how the Switch 2 hardware works. It teaches you, you know, how the Joy-Cons rumble. It teaches you how to use the mouse feature. It's like a learning how the Switch 2 works and how to use it. Once again, a glorified instruction manual. Like, it's not the biggest game. It's just like a demo. It's you playing these quote-unquote mini games, and then you're like, oh, this is how the mouse feature works. You know, you're playing a mini game. Whatever, right? Like, it's a tech demo. We all know what that is. But to have the audacity, I'm not trying to be dramatic, to charge $10. $10! 1/8 of Mario Kart World! Can you believe that? When you put it in perspective like that, that's crazy to me. 1/8 of Mario Kart World, 1/7 of Donkey Kong Bonanza for Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. A game where it teaches you how the Switch 2 works is criminal. Now, the argument is, Max, they put work into that game. You know, it's a pretty content depth heavy software game title. You all know what I mean. You know, it has some content to it. They should charge $10. Let me tell you this, and we have a quote here from, I believe, Bill Trinan. Let me tell you this. On PlayStation 5, there's a tech demo too. It's called Astro's Playroom. Astro's Playroom, you know, they talk about Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour being this content-filled game. Astro's Playroom takes 5 hours to 100%. That is the average time based on howlongtobeat.com. 5 hours. And guess how much Astro's Playroom costs? $5. It doesn't actually cost $5, but if it did, that sounds like a better deal than Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. It's actually free. Astro's Playroom is actually free. I said $5, so then you would think in your mind, oh, that's a much better deal. No, it's actually free. How much of a better deal does that sound now? Do you see the difference? One game, an actually fun game, Astro's Playroom, is free, takes you 5 hours, and Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour is more mundane. It teaches you about how the vibrations work, and it's $10. Listen, I'm the last guy to crap on Nintendo, like for real. Like for real. I have a Nintendo podcast. But this is like, I mean, $5 would be fine. $10 to learn about vibrations and how HD rumble works and magnets? We learned that in second grade in science class. This is not $10. Now, as a content creator, I'll buy it so I can tell you about it. Because if I sat here and just talked about games that I never actually played, and they're actually, you know, out and released, then what am I doing? Who am I? So I'll buy it so I can talk about it. But if I was a fan, if I was a fan, and, you know, when Switch 2 came out, I was in 4th grade. Or sorry, when Switch 1 came out, I was in 4th grade. And I bought if I bought a Switch 2, and I was that age, I would not buy Welcome Tour. I don't think so anyway. Shoot. Well, here's the problem. When Switch 1 came out, I didn't like Zelda. I do now, but back then I didn't. So I actually bought 1-2 Switch over Zelda, and then I bought Snipper Clips. If 4th grade me saw the launch games that we have now for Switch 2, he'd probably buy Mario Kart, and he might actually buy Welcome Tour. But like, what I'm saying is, usually, if I was a fan, not a creator, I would skip on Welcome Tour. And I don't blame a lot of you if you all want to do that. If you all have no interest, don't have interest. But here's the quote from Bill Trinan trying to explain why this costs money. Quote, "For some people, I think there are people who are particularly interested in the tech and the specs of the system and things like that. For them, I think it's going to be a great product. It's really for people that want more information about the system rather than necessarily a quick intro to everything it does. And for that reason, and just the amount of care and work that the team put into it, I think it was decided that, yeah, this feels like $9.99 is not an exorbitant price. It feels like a good value for what you're getting out of the product." That is Bill Trinan talking to IGN, I believe, about the price for the Welcome Tour. Here's the thing. When the Wii released, and this whole story just resurfaced online, Reggie was in the position that Doug Bowser is in right now. Nintendo of America president, or like, head, lead, whatever, boss, right? Reggie made the decision to make Wii Sports, and I'm not saying this is at all like Wii Sports, free, a pack-in title. A lot of you know this story. And look how big Wii Sports got. Sold 80 million copies, or 70, or, somewhere in that, I believe it was 80. 80 million copies or whatever. Was this beloved game for the Wii. Everyone loved Wii Sports. And I'm not saying that Welcome Tour could have a Wii Sports effect. They are two totally different games. But like, man, when you include a pack-in game or something, not only do you get the goodwill of the fans, it's also just like the right thing to do. Almost like it's just, why are we being charged $10 for a tech demo? For an instruction manual? I don't know. Head scratcher. But we move on to our next piece of news. And guys, if you thought that we were going to get better in terms of like, more positive news, you thought wrong, okay? So the next piece of news, the Nintendo Switch 2 eShop will not have music on it. Confirmed. Absolutely confirmed. No way around it. So if you are a player of the Wii, the DS, the Wii U, or the 3DS, you would know that the eShop or the shop channel or, whatever it was on whatever console on Nintendo systems, they had music on the eShop. All of them did. Those 4. All had music. When we got to the Switch eShop, it was kind of like, where's the music? It was like, I don't like this. This is the first eShop on any Nintendo platform to not have music. I'm not a fan of this. But I will say, we had bigger problems with the Switch 1 eShop. And that is the loading times, how slow it is, the AI games on there. It's not good, right? But on Switch 2, before it was all revealed, we were like, man, Nintendo is going to listen to the fans, to the audience. They're going to make the eShop faster. They're going to add music. It's going to be great on the next system. They did one of those two things. The Switch 2 eShop, there's a video out there of it, is much faster now than the Switch 1 eShop is. That's a plus. There is no Nintendo Switch 2 eShop music. And me, as a fan of, somebody who grew up in the Wii U era and got to experience peak music on the eShop, Wii and Wii U era, so I got the Wii Shop channel music nostalgia too. For somebody who experienced all of this eShop music and how cool it was and how nice it was, how small of a touch it was, but how nice it was, to not have music on Switch 2, for me personally, really sucks. Obviously, it's a small thing. Max, just play music from your phone while you browse the eShop. Yeah, but it's not the same. So, here is the confirmed reason why the eShop will not have music. This quote comes from, I think I'm going to mess up his name, Koichi Kawamoto. That's probably pretty close. He says, unlike back then, pause, I think he means like Wii U, 3DS, DS, when he says back then. So he says, unlike back then, the eShop now has lots of videos that are showcasing the games. Pause. So, he thinks the eShop now has tons of videos that are showcasing the games. And I gave him props in my long-form video a few days ago. I said, yes, he's right. Guys, if you go and look at the video they put out for the Switch 2 eShop, there are a lot more videos on the eShop now than there were even on the Switch 1 eShop. Like, how it seems on the Switch 2 eShop, based on the, 40-second video they put out of them scrolling it, it looks like as soon as you click a game, a video starts playing. So, I do get what he means. He finished the quote by saying, we didn't want to intrude on the videos, so we don't have music there. I get it. If there's a lot of videos playing on the eShop with sound, having music there would kind of be a bit of a, disruption, distraction. But two arguments. Well, one, and then I have a second point. One argument, you couldn't just fade the music in and fade it out. Like, fade it in, when you open the eShop, fade it out when there's a video playing, fade it back in when the video ends. Like, stop and start the music. You couldn't do that. Because, I would argue, I would seriously argue, most of the time that you're spending on the eShop is not watching videos. It's browsing. It is, then watching videos of the game. Then after that, putting in your payment info. Then after that, hitting, confirm purchase, then getting the game. You could put music in all of those other parts of the process. The picking out a game. The putting in your payment info. All of this. There's still room for music to be in the eShop. There's still room for it. Now, is the actual reason because the eShop is going to run bad with music? Probably. Or else, why don't you have it? I mean, is it that hard to fade in, fade out music? We do it on this podcast. I can only imagine how hard it is to do if you're a professional game developer or software developer. Listen, I'm not them. I'm not in their shoes. I don't know what they have beyond this reason for not having music. I'm not sure what their other reasons are. But you could have, you could have had music. PlayStation has music. Xbox does not. They've always been pretty silent. I think you could have put music in it, would run fine and it'd be cool. It's just upsetting for those nostalgic players, but it's not the biggest thing in the world. Just a thing. It's not a big thing. It's just a thing. All right, next piece of news. Pretty short one. Just wanted to, bring it up. Nintendo Switch 2 will not have achievements on the console. So, like Xbox, like PlayStation's trophies, you will not have achievements on Switch 2. We knew about this. Nintendo has always said they don't fully copy their competitors. So I never expected achievements. It's just now been confirmed by Bill Trinen of Nintendo. He said that there's no achievements on the console. We had a rumor that there would be achievements, actually, because there was this gameplay footage piece of Mario Kart World, and on the screenshot or the gameplay, it said, congrats, you drove this far throughout your entire time playing Mario Kart. So we might have thought those were achievements, but no. The Switch 2 has no achievements. Sad. I would like achievements, but it's whatever, right? I would rather, I was gonna say I would rather them not copy PlayStation and Xbox, but achievements are cool, so maybe I would have preferred you to do so. I don't know. That's a piece of news. Then let's go here. This is a pretty interesting piece of news. We have a piece of news that says some Nintendo Switch games may see a performance boost on Switch 2 without an upgrade pack. So as we know, games like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Pokemon Legends ZA are all confirmed to run better on the Switch 2, be it better frame rates, be it higher resolution. They're going to look and run better on Switch 2. However, we have a quote from Takuhiro Dota, I believe I'm saying that right, from GameSpot. He said that to GameSpot. He works for Nintendo. He said this to GameSpot. First, I'll start with what happens when you play a game without applying the update. I believe he means, or the upgrade. He says, which is that, and this will depend heavily on how the game was created and also how it was designed. But I think you can expect certain improvements, such as faster load times, maybe improved frame rate, but again, it'll depend on how that game was built. So he's saying some Switch games will run better on Switch 2 without an upgrade pack, but as he just said, it depends heavily on how the game was built. So from the ground up, if it's easy to make things load faster or improve frame rates, it'll happen. Because Switch 2 has more power than Switch 1, you might see faster loading times, especially on those new micro SD cards, the express ones they're gonna make you use. So I think faster load times are a pretty good lock for the Switch 1 games on Switch 2 with no upgrade pack. So that would be games like Animal Crossing New Horizons. Doesn't have an official Switch 2 upgrade pack as far as we know, but maybe you play it on Switch 1 and you'll see some faster loading times. Maybe Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, you could potentially get higher frames in that game. Things like that, I think that's what he's saying, but he was careful not to promise things, and smart of him to do that. So yeah, maybe play your Switch 1 games on Switch 2 that do not have upgrade packs and see if they perform better. Yeah. Cool beans. All right, next piece of news. This is, so the last piece of news was pretty positive. This is rather positive too, I would say. Zelda Wind Waker being on the GameCube Switch Online service doesn't mean that Zelda Wind Waker HD will not happen. So this information comes via Tim Geddes from Kinda Funny Games, and he said, quote, I did ask if having the Wind Waker on NSO precludes it from the Switch 2 getting the actual Wii U port at some point, meaning a HD version. And he was very quick to say no. All options are on the table. Obviously, nothing is confirmed one way or another. So, he's saying, I believe, he says, I did ask. I imagine that he's asking some Nintendo employee or something. And then, they said, it could happen. You never know. We're not going to rule it out. I would almost bet all your life savings that Wind Waker HD will happen at some point on the Switch 1 or Switch 2. If they want to, dual release that, I don't know. I think it'll definitely happen. I just don't know when. Because we've been thinking that it would happen for the last 3 years. We've been hoping for some sort of Wind Waker port or HDification from the Wii U to the Switch. Last 3 years we've wanted this. So I don't know when it'll happen, but I think it definitely will happen at some point. So, little tidbit of news, and then back to more negative news. Okay, guys, come on. We have more negative news to share. Not to be negative Nancy's, but breaking news, Nintendo Switch Online GameCube controller will only work with GameCube games. Now, that was the original headline of this article and many articles out there. However, and also, this piece of news broke from Video Games Chronicle. They kind of put it out there, And I believe on Nintendo's game trailer showcasing the GameCube controller, it said like only works with Switch Online games. And so that was bad. That was bad news for us all, because that means it won't work with, PC, won't work with Smash Bros. Ultimate, right? But a lot of people were quick to point out they said that exact same thing, like will not work with other games. They said that with the N64 controller too. That works on PC. That works elsewhere. So maybe this doesn't mean anything, and that the GameCube controller actually will work elsewhere. So basically what I'm saying here is it came out, the GameCube controller would only work on Switch Online games. However, that's unlikely to actually be true because they said it in the past and it never actually was true. So wanted to clear that up there. We're going to call that, I called it negative news. We're going to reclassify it as, I don't know. What's like the middle? Positive, negative, neutral news. Neutral news, that is. Just, it's a piece of news, not positive or negative. Neutral news. Our next piece of news, we have so much to get into, guys. I would call this positive, but it could also be negative, and here's why. So the piece of news is Nintendo says there is more to that Drag X Drive wheelchair basketball game that they have not shown yet. Nate Bildorf from Nintendo told this information to Nintendo Life. Now, Max, why would that ever be a bad thing? Well, apparently they have more content to show about that game. Who knows if it's a story mode? Not sure I'm not sure what kind of story would be there. But what if it is, right? What if there's, just some new modes or whatever? That sounds fun. More content added to the game. Here's the problem. If you add more content to a game, you're only giving, Nintendo more of a reason to charge $70 for wheelchair basketball. That's the problem. Nintendo is going to feel too comfortable charging full price for Drag X Drive. If you're asking me, I don't know the ins and outs of Drag X Drive. Nobody does except for Nintendo. Based on how the game looks, I wouldn't charge, if your new full price game is $70, I would not charge more than $50 for this game. It looks like wheelchair basketball 3-on-3, not much else to it. But if they add more content, they can try to justify and squeeze the $70 price tag for Drag X Drive. I was hoping this game would be like a $30 on the budget side type of game, like a Nintendo World Championships type, like lesser effort into it. It's cheaper, it's not full price. If they add more content to the game, yes, it's a positive, but it also might be $70. So something to keep an eye on as Drag X Drive's release date gets closer. Mark my words, it's going to release in August of this year, so keep an eye out, it'll be good. Then, this is also good or bad news, depending on how you take it. Nintendo Switch 2 game cards will still taste bad. So as we all know, Nintendo Switch games, if you lick them, don't do it, but if you lick them, they taste bad. They taste awful. That taste stays in your mouth for like 20 minutes. It sucks terrible. I've done it for multiple videos. I have done it just in general out of curiosity. When I was a smaller streamer, like 1,000 subscribers, I would get rated and I would have like 40 people watching, which was huge back then, That 40 people back then was like 100,000. And I would pour water on my head and lick a Nintendo Switch game cartridge while I did it. If you all join my Discord server and you're wondering what the GIF is in the welcome channel, it's me pouring water on my head. That was when I got rated on a live stream. I didn't lick the Switch cartridge in that GIF or GIF, whatever you call it. But that is one of the times I poured water on my head for a raid on my stream. Fun times, little tidbit of info there. But yeah, I don't know that I'm going to lick the Switch 2 game cartridge. It doesn't sound like a fun idea, but who knows? You know, I do a lot of things for videos. I break controllers for videos. The other day, put a hammer into my Nintendo Switch for a video. Like, I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever. So maybe I will lick a Switch 2 cartridge. I have a few funny skits in mind for Switch 2, but I have to like own the console and have it in my hands to do it. I have a funny one planned. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So looking forward to it. All right. More news. We have 4 pieces of news left. Nintendo Switch 2 is still going to have 12-digit friend codes. Guys, if we were still, get it, if we were in the Wii era, the Nintendo Wii era from 2006, I could understand 12-digit friend codes. We are in 2025, and Nintendo thinks the best way to do friend adding on the Switch is via friend codes. I think because people are going to ask, Max, what's the better option? Do what I think Xbox or somebody does it. I think Xbox does. I mean, at least Discord does it. You put in a username, any username you want. It can be, you know, what's a common name? Bulborb. And then it has a 4-digit number after it. So if your friend, his username is Bulborb, and then what they do is they put a 4-digit number after it to, like, you know, let as many people be named Bulborb as possible. You would then type in to your, you know, search for friends, Bulborb, let's say that his number is 4947. Bulborb 4947. It gives you a random generated 4 numbers at the end of your username so that you can pick whatever username you want. If there's 20 people out there with the username Bulborb, they all are different because they have a different 4-digit number at the end of their username. That way, everyone can pick whatever username they want. That way, there's no friend codes, and it's just so much easier. Like, if I pick EmSwizzle as my username, I'll get 4 numbers at the end of it. You type that in, you can add me. So simple. So simple. I don't get it. But the piece of news beyond that is that if you don't want to use friend codes, you can share a Nintendo Switch QR code technology from 1994, as I said in my video. You can screenshot the QR code and post it online, give it to your friends, whatever. That is their new advanced way of adding friends on Nintendo Switch. Absolutely atrocious. You couldn't have gamer tags, usernames, anything of the sort. My gosh. Not good from Nintendo. Not good. We move on to more sad news. For those of you interested in the Nintendo Switch 2 camera accessory and were eyeing the Piranha plant camera that we saw over the past, week or two, or sorry, no, just 1 week actually, not week or two. There's an officially licensed Piranha plant camera that Hori is making. We all have seen this. It's cheaper, it looks cooler, it looks like a good buy if you want the camera accessory. Only bad news is this Piranha plant camera is going to record in 480p. So what that means is if you buy the official Nintendo Switch 2 camera and you set it up and you call your friends, you will look pretty clear. Like, your camera will look good. If you buy the Piranha plant one, you're going to look like you're being recorded on, as I said in my video, a toaster or a BlackBerry BlackBerry phone, you know? It's not going to look good. And for reference, did BlackBerries even have cameras? Like, that's how bad it's going to look. Your camera will look terrible with this Piranha Plant camera. Now, is the point of having a camera on your Nintendo Switch 2 to look good, to look 1080p quality, to look not blurry? Probably not. So, like, if you want this, still buy it. It's going to be fine, right? If you want a preview of how 480p looks, go ahead. You can change the quality setting of this YouTube podcast to 480p. You know, I can't promise you that it'll look exactly like that because my camera lens is just, you know, better than this Piranha Plant one is. But you can get a feel for how much lower quality 480p actually is than 1080p. It's not good. But I'll probably still buy this because it looks freaking cool. You know, it looks really good. But we got some more news for you guys. We got a few more topics. We got Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. This game, we all know and love it. It might still have some frame rate issues on the Nintendo Switch 2. So, from Nate Bildorf, he told Nintendo Life, quote, I will say, nothing's perfect. I think especially with Tears of the Kingdom, the amount of stuff that you can do in that game is impossible to predict because of the access they've given you to building things. I mean, the mechs that people build that go striding through the environment and launching a gazillion missiles, there probably are going to still be ways that you can go beyond the stress of the system, but I haven't found any. So, what he's saying here is, even though you're getting a whole upgrade pack for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, because they've given you so much freedom to build things, if you build the craziest machine of all time, even though this upgrade pack should still run at a good frame rate, you can still see frame rate issues if you're launching 97 missiles all at one time. What he's saying is, for Tears of the Kingdom, it might not be perfect still. So, keep that in mind. Then, two quick pieces of news to close things out. Number one, Nintendo won't say what happens when you press the C button when you do not have internet. They declined to comment. Now, I would suspect that it's just going to say, you don't have internet. This is an error. You need internet for game chat. All of the above, right? But why would they decline to comment? What does that mean? Does it mean that the Nintendo Switch 2 is gonna go whammy? Is gonna fly away? Is it gonna blow up? All possibilities here. We don't know. No one knows. We don't know what's confirmed. But we will see. So, they don't comment on that. And then the other piece of news is, for all my Animal Crossing... Sorry, I hit the microphone. I apologize. For all my Animal Crossing... I hit it again. For all my Animal Crossing fans, if I can speak without hitting my microphone, you can transfer your island to the Nintendo Switch 2. Woo! I wish I had a party popper right now. We'd be popping that thing. This is good news. Because Nintendo's not going to release the next Animal Crossing until probably, at this point, 2027. And I can keep on playing New Horizons. My only wish would have been that New Horizons was going to be at 60 frames per second. It looks like it still runs at 30 frames per second in the Switch 2 Direct. So, that's terrible, by the way. That's actually terrible that it does that. It should run at a full 60, but whatever. You can transfer your Switch New Horizons to Switch 2. Now, warning, when you do that, your Animal Crossing New Horizons island will be gone from your Switch 1. It'll be fully moved over to your Switch 2. So, do keep that in mind. But, folks, that is all of the news for this Mario Matter episode. But the episode is far from over, folks. Let's dive in to the Q&A segment, the question block segment, where you all asked me questions for me to answer about Switch 2, about Animal Crossing, all good stuff. Let's go ahead, let's answer them. Folks, it is time for the question block segment. You all asked me questions, I'm here to answer them. Now, some of you might wonder, how do you ask questions for the podcast? Well, there are 3 ways to do so. Number 1, I post on my EmSwizzle YouTube community tab every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You can comment there. If you don't want to wait for that, you can join the Discord server linked down below right now and ask your questions in the podcast questions channel. If you don't want to do that, you can email mariomatterquestions@gmail.com. All questions will be considered, and our first question is from Bob Chesterton. This sounds like a first-time question asker. Have we heard about the legend of Bob Chesterton? I don't know. But Bob asks, would you rather have Animal Crossing New Leaf as a port or an Animal Crossing New Horizons 3.0 update? Oh, Max, you only put this question on here because it has to do with Animal Crossing, right? No. Bob Chesterton had the most liked question. It seems like people want to know my answer to this question. And it's a dang good question. I'm not sure why I'm giving Bob Chesterton so much love on this podcast. Shout out to Bob Chesterton. My answer to the question is going to be, so like we all know how big the New Horizons 2.0 update is, right? And we all know how much I love Animal Crossing New Leaf and how much that game means to me. It's my favorite of all time, right? But I think I would definitely go with a Animal Crossing New Leaf port. Yeah, I have to. Because, like, dude, that's totally future-proofing that game. It is currently stuck on 3DS hardware. It's currently stuck in low resolution. And yeah, you know, you can play it on an emulator and get it in 4K. That's great. But it's stuck on 3DS hardware, and I hate that. So I would love it to get ported. And there's so much time for that to happen. There's so many opportunities. It needs to freaking happen. The Real N Boo asks, if you could pick a Zelda game from any console to be ported to Switch 2, what would it be? Also, if you could design a Zelda game, what would it be? I'm going to answer the first part. I'm not good at designing Zelda games. And plus, I would probably go on for a bit too long. So, any Zelda games to be ported to Switch 2. It'd probably come down to Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. The two that we need to happen, are rumored to happen, have already gotten HD remakes in the past, and need to happen. With that said, I would probably lean more towards Twilight Princess. I've not beaten either game, so it's not a matter of me liking one more than the other. It's just more so I think Twilight... Well, I guess I like the idea of the game better. I like the storyline better of Twilight Princess. So I would rather that. But I've not played or beaten... Well, I mean, I've played. I've not beaten both games, so I can't pick based on that. I would have said Skyward Sword, but it's already on Switch 1, which in turn, by product, makes it a Switch 2 game. So, Twilight Princess is my pick. 18H2D asks, do you think that the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be successful or unsuccessful? I think it'll be successful in terms of what Nintendo wants it to do. Will it pass the Switch 1 in terms of sales? No. And I can confidently say that because there's a few reasons why the Switch 1 did so well. Number one, it was brand new. No one had seen a console that could go from TV to handheld to tabletop to TV to handheld. It was new. The pandemic helped a ton, and it was just this cool big thing, and it had so many great games. And Switch 2 will maybe even have better games. I think when it's all said and done, Switch 2 will have a better game library than Switch 1 does have. But I think, you can't. I don't think any console that is like, it's different for Xbox and PlayStation, but for Nintendo, you can't do a second edition of a console and then have it sell better than that console, I've always said, dating back to like 2000, like early 2000, or like mid 2022, I've always said, and it's not me being some genius, it's just fact. If you look at the NES and SNES, they tried to make a better version of NES. NES sold better. Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, the first one, sold better. Wii to Wii U, we know how that went. DS to 3DS, DS sold better. Every single time, the first one sells better. Once again, that's not me being some genius, that's just fact. So, Switch 2, I think, has zero chance of selling better. Not to mention, if it was going to sell better than Switch 1, we would know by last week. If there wasn't this whole, drop the price, why so expensive? You could make an argument it would sell better than Switch 1. It wouldn't be a good argument, but you could make the argument. Now it's impossible. Now it's totally impossible because there's so much hate, so much backlash. You're already hurting sales, whether they see it or not. You're already hurting sales. So I would say no. It'll be successful, but not more than Switch 1. Now, to be successful, I think you want to hit, if Switch 1 has sold 150 million units, I think to be successful, you want to sell, when it's all said and done, you want to sell maybe 90 to 100 million. I mean, that's like best case scenario. Best case scenario. You're not really going to get more than that. 90 to 100 is what you want to aim for. It's very possible that it could be a little bit less, like 80. Heck, even 70. But you know what? We shall see. That's what's so great about this. We shall see. Finally, Zelda Enthusiast is asking a Kirby question. Might as well change her name to Kirby Enthusiast. They ask, what do you want to see from the Kirby series moving forward into the Switch 2 era besides Kirby Air Riders? Yes, okay. I mean, I think that the next step for like so many Nintendo games, and it seems like they're doing it, is open world 3D. I need an open world 3D Kirby game. Forgotten Land was great. Forgotten Land was awesome. It's a step away from the 2D Kirby stuff. Performance could have been a little better. That's why they're making the Switch 2 upgrade pack. But it was fun. However, it was not open world. You were going from level to level to level to boss fight, playing the game. It was great. It was fun, but it wasn't open world. I think next step is open world, crazy, looking good, performing 60 frames per second, 4K, open world 3D Kirby. I think that's your next step. 3D open world Kirby. That's just like the next best way to make games nowadays. Open world. And I think a Kirby game in an open world, walking around, sucking up everything. Like imagine a Kirby game in a similar style of Donkey Kong Bonanza. That sells. That's big. So I would love to see it go in that direction. I would love another 2D Kirby game as well. I don't know what it would be, but I would hope if there is a new 2D Kirby game, I would love for it to have some gimmick, as in like, with Kirby's Epic Yarn, the whole yarn thing. I would love for it to have something like that. But yeah, Give me an open world Kirby game, open world, and then give me a 2D Kirby game with something cool in it. I would like that a lot. Folks, that is it for the Mario Matter episode. I believe 136 or 135. Oh God, what is this? I think it's 136. The title knows. I don't know. I think it's 136. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode. I posted a long-form YouTube video on my main channel, EmSwizzle, which is kind of a snappier version of me talking about everything that I just discussed today. Not sure if you want to go watch it because everything in that video we just talked about, but I do make a few more jokes in there. If you want to watch that, go feel free. It's pretty good. I edit it myself. It's not the most impressive editing job, but it's, like the most, you don't need crazy edits for a video like that. So, it's cool. And I have a long form video coming out soon. And I'll be back on this podcast next Saturday with a guest, I hope, if there's no scheduling problems. And I will see you all then. Make sure on your way out to like the video if you're on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. 5-star review goes such a long way. I would really appreciate it. And I would subscribe as well. And I will see you all next Saturday for even more Nintendo news. And hopefully this Switch 2 situation will get resolved, whether Nintendo drops the price or drops the price. There's honestly there's no other solution. I'll see you all then. Adios.